Hello and welcome to Comic Book Junkies. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Joe.
And this week we're going to remind you that Wonder Woman 84 is coming out December 25th. You can go ahead and watch it on HBOmax or in theaters. I mean, if that's going to be a thing. But we're going to get into a few topics related to Wonder Woman today. We're going to go over Wonder Woman 80s run by George Perez. We're going to go through the first volume and just kind of go over what that is, since it kind of touches on the script for the new movie. And we'll also be meeting you down on Spec Corner. So stay tuned. You'll see what we have to say on what's hot in the market. So, Joe, what do you think about this book?
Are we talking about this run with George Perez, or are we talking about the Spec Corner?
We're talking about this book with George Perez. We'll save it for the end. If you're a real believer, you'll want to know this hot tip. So, yeah, Wonder Woman, George Perez's run, where he kind of did a soft reboot of the character and her continuity back in the 80s, kind of led to, you know, a new renaissance for the character and kind of brought her back to prominence. But yeah, I mean, it's by George Perez, one of the all-time great creators, so I obviously had a lot of interest coming into it because I love his art. I wanted to see what his writing chops looked like, and I think he did a great job steering this character in a new direction.
I do too. Obviously, at Comic Book Junkies, we review and read a lot of George Perez just because of the impact he's made on comic books, and with Wonder Woman coming out in theaters here soon, we figured it'd be pretty fitting to review this title. It's a 7-chapter series in 1987. You know, we might come back to another volume later down the road, but this would be a good start. In the original Wonder Woman movie, I felt like they borrowed a lot of content from this run. So the comic book starts in 30,000 BC with like a frustrated Neanderthal who he clubs his mate to death, and then
his mate,
yeah,
down in the outback, he clubbed his mate,
and he's still kind of frustrated, but she passes, and then some kind of energy just shoots right from her body into the sky, and it fast forwards to 1200 BC on Mount Olympus, where Ares claims to Zeus, the king of gods, that his sister Artemis was proposed to create a new race of mortals on Earth, which is the Amazonians. And obviously he's very frustrated by this idea, and because Ares is the god of war, he has completely different goals than the rest of the gods. They're more peaceful and kind, and he likes violence and war, dude. And yep, it's his goal to make the whole Earth like that. And Zeus wants to stay completely out of the situation and let the other gods handle it on their own, and that's kind of how you get the start of the Amazonians.
I love that Greek mythology ties in a lot, because reading all the Greek mythology kind of in high school kind of had an impact on me and stuff like that. Kind of got me more into reading and writing and stuff like that. And I like the ties. They actually tie in very well. And I like how Themyscira also kind of turns into a Paradise Island type thing. All of the ties to it. And Ares just as a villain, not only based on the cool factor of his costume, but also just how aggressive he is and some of the stunts he pulls in this book. Ares is definitely, I feel slept on, as are kind of most of the Wonder Woman villains. You don't really ever see them talked about with any of the big hitters, Superman, Batman, the Flash even. No one cares about them, but Ares deserves way more respect, and also top 10, top 5 costume of all time.
I can agree with that, especially in this run. I like the way that Perez did the costume for Ares, and I also liked that they were pretty thorough about explaining her origin stories, where the Amazonians came from.
Almost too thorough, bro.
Almost too thorough. It was kind of complicated, because here in this first chapter, you get introduced to so many different gods that it's kind of hard to keep track of who's who and what's going on. And I think that's why there's not too many good runs in Wonder Woman for comics. It's just because her origin is so complex. And so if you kind of take your time and be patient with this issue, it's a little bit of a slower read, but as the chapters go on, you actually kind of get hooked later on. I wish there was more of a pull in the beginning, but it does do a very thorough job of explaining how Wonder Woman came to be.
Yeah, I could agree to that. There's just a whole lot going on, like you said. It feels like 2 issues of just pure who are the Amazonians before we even get into Wonder Woman. Yo, to also touch on that, I don't know if we're getting ahead or what, but how about her mom fucking sculpting a clay baby in the sand on the beach? They're really take care and put in a bunch of time towards making this baby look good. And it's bro, if you put one of our asses out on the beach trying to sculpt a baby out of sand or clay, you know how deformed it'd be if they shot life into it?
Newsflash, it's probably going to be deformed anyway.
Yeah, dude, I don't have an eye for the arts, so props to them, bro. Sorry, just to touch on that, bro.
Sure. So the Amazonians were created out of necessity to stop Ares, and the reason that they hate men is because Ares sends a dude down there, and
Hercules, bro.
Yeah.
Well, Heracles, because we're doing the Greek version, but Big Herc, dude, that was actually one of the cooler parts, because he goes in, he's going to fight, Hippolyta, and all of a sudden, you know, she's got the one up on him, and he's like, I ain't backing down to no women. And I'm like, oh, damn, bro. If you know what's good for you, you better. And then he gets whooped on, smile, like a handshake. He's like, you know what? We'll team up with you. You have the respect of me. Only to, like, get her half naked, punch her in the head, and say, I would never respect a woman, before pretty much enslaving the whole Amazonian tribe, pretty much. And I didn't know that part coming into it. I didn't know that they got bested like that. I thought they just kind of had, like, this grace about them. They had their own island, and for some reason, they just are good at being warriors out of no reason. There's no one they war with. They're just always really trained and sit on an island. Who are they really helping? But, anyways, I didn't know that part. Like I said, I thought that they just kind of, you know, they just made it, ooh, it's a magic island. All the chicks are, like, hot, and all the chicks know how to fight. But no, like, seeing that they were kind of vulnerable before they had, like, a new resolve and became, like, the Amazonians we know today, I thought that was pretty cool diving into that, especially with Hercules being, like, part of the reason, too. Like, love the Disney movie.
So that's where they get their not trust in men, and that sets up the whole origin of her character. After they are able to free themselves and fight off all the men, they lose the trust of the gods, but as part of reconcile, they're sent to Paradise Island because they let their guard down, and that's why they're kind of so strict there. So I thought, you know, they did a good job setting it up, but it was just took a while. Chapter 2 starts off with introducing Steve Trevor, which I thought was cool.
Yeah.
Big part of Wonder Woman, and I liked his rendition in the movies. This is also a really good rendition of the character. A member of the Air Force, a war hero, and is asked to go on some kind of special mission and fly over a site, and so obviously it's a trick, and he's duped by Ares. He goes with a co-pilot, and that co-pilot strangles him and crashes the plane, and it ends up in Paradise Island. So that's where Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor meet.
Yeah, pretty much from there. I mean, she saves his life against, you know, most of the Amazonian wishes. But, you know, Hermes comes back. Wonder Woman's getting her lasso and all that. She's getting ready to go. And then, boom, she's in Boston. But anyways, he goes and brings Wonder Woman to the city. She's fated to go ahead and find people that are going to help her on her mission. That's really all Hermes can really tell her. He's not very direct. He's just like, I'll give you a hint. That'll help you save all of humanity and the gods and everything. It's like, okay, whatever, bro. Bunch of help you are. But anyways, she meets the professor. What's her name? Like Capitellus? Or was that the dude who fucking rules who got shot?
The librarian.
Dog, she has a name. But I'm pretty sure it's like Capitellus or something like that. And if it's not, I'm going to stick to that because it's close enough. But anyways, she knows how to go ahead and like kind of read or like speak some like ancient Greek for whatever reason. These academics nowadays. But anyways, so she runs into her. She has that amulet from the Mad Harmonia or whatever, which is pretty much just like Ares' like fugly daughter who is hiding in a cave and has nothing good to say. So she just stays by herself. That's what she gets. But
she gave up that amulet pretty quick.
Yeah, it's like, oh, can I have a friend, please? And Diana's like, I'm not worried about friends, bro. She's like, thanks, though. But yeah, pretty much like, what's her face gets a good look at the amulet. She kind of understands the situation and is very hospitable to Wonder Woman for being in that flamboyant uniform compared to civilian clothes, speaking ancient Greek mixed with whatever the fuck, and you know, just kind of coming to you with like a weird amulet. Obviously, we see in like the later part of the issue, in the next couple issues, like her becoming friends with Diana is not really a good thing for her personal life because Decay comes in and like fucking turns her daughter into an old ugly woman like right in front of her just for helping some random Greek chick, and it's like, oh shit, I'd be pissed off. I'd be like, I'm not helping you, and she's just like, you know what, I'm doing this for her. Oh, whatever, bro, who cares? Fucking corny. Add that in there, subplot. But you know it. But Decay, she kind of sucked, but I do like that she was Medusa's daughter. She was flying around kind of being annoying, and she was shooting nasty stuff out of her mouth. So, I mean, that was pretty disgusting.
I feel like they could have completely went without this issue.
Yeah.
The only purpose this issue served was introducing Wonder Woman to her skill sets, because this is the first time she's on Earth, and she has the lasso, she's got her bracelets, but she doesn't really know how to fight outside of Paradise Island. And so this is her first enemy. They allude plenty of times that she has to go against Ares at the very end of this volume, and so it's kind of just like a warm-up or a practice for her, getting familiar with her skill set. Otherwise, it was kind of, I don't want to say pointless, but it was just kind of like a subplot that they helped reinforce how Wonder Woman becomes Wonder Woman.
I forgot that all during this, that like while Decay's like on her run doing all of her dumb shit, it's hilarious because I believe at some point Steve Trevor says God bless college football, and I just thought that was a good note. I was just noted. I also like that in the background, even though I wasn't even huge on that part as well, Deimos and Phobos, like Ares' sons, were kind of also plotting in the background, kind of doing the hench work for Ares himself. Phobos is just trying to tussle people, and he kind of sucks. Deimos is ugly as all hell with his like snake face and his weird beard that goes like...
He's got a beard made of snakes.
And it goes like up past his eye too. I'm like, well, who the hell made that? But anyways,
dude could trim.
He ain't getting trim. He just has strict no trim zone of any sort. But I like that. Well, I do and don't like, for different reasons, that he's using nationalism to make the Americans want to fight Russians, and then going back and talking to the Russians and using nationalism for the same thing. And I'm just like, see what you're saying. I like nationalism, and I don't like the Russians. Yeah, and I just mumbled all through that, so we'll see if we can even get that audio. Props to you if you can hear and make out what I said. But also, I do kind of like that because it is kind of cool, and I do kind of like how the explanation for War on Earth does stem from Ares and, to a lesser extent, his sons. You know, like how war is to us. There's really no god of war going around, like, you know, making it happen. Like, it just happens. It's a human thing. But I do kind of like that in this, that the Greek mythology is kind of trying to coerce humanity into war, giving it an explanation, which I do think is pretty cool. It kind of helps when Wonder Woman eventually wins, because when wouldn't she win? But you know what I mean? Like, that she defeated Ares, and that's why the war and all the tension kind of subsided. We don't have that, which sucks. But I thought that was like a cool tie-in. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, but I just appreciate it.
I think so too. The only time you really see Ares thus far in the comics is when he's talking to the gods. And so when he's manipulating these humans to want war and to fight, you don't really see him. It's more of like an energy and an influence. And so for that, it does kind of give you a good explanation as to why they're doing these things. Just that passion that he has for war and how infectious it is to people who already are not kind-hearted. And so you kind of get a mixed bag as far as Wonder Woman goes when she's visiting Earth. There's these people that are so kind and passionate and want to do well, and then there's these other people that are constantly shooting off their Glock 19s. It's a lot different than Paradise Island for her.
And kind of like moving back into where we were, you know, like we kind of left off with Decay, you know, going on her run and doing whatever. Well, obviously Wonder Woman's gonna beat her ass, so that happens. We don't really need to get too much deeper into that. I mean, it is what it is.
She remembers she has a lasso and ropes her.
Pretty much. That's that, dude. Then they go to the professor's winter home, which, by the way, since when were professors getting summer and winter homes? What is she doing, money laundering? Anyways.
Born into a good family.
Yeah, she's fortunate. Maybe it was the divorce settlement. I don't think Vanessa had a dad.
Oh, shit.
Oh,
Side story.
Yeah, dude. We're making the plot now.
Yeah.
No, we come back into it, and, you know, Steve is kind of lurking outside of the winter home. But Diana hears some shit rustling outside, and she finds him, and, you know, they finally have just now reunited. It's damn near issue 5 of 7, and Steve Trevor and Wonder Woman are just now getting to, like, know each other for the first time, so it's like, okay. But, you know, it's fine. It's good. You know, everybody kind of meets up. Like, Etta gets in on the fun, and so does that one, what was his name? He ruled, too.
Are you talking about Steve Trevor's best friend?
Yeah, that guy ruled.
I just know that they're buddies.
Yeah, I forgot his name. Dude, they're all too, like, long and, like, Greek or something for, like, easy recall, so I'm like, god damn. Oh, it was Michaelis, wasn't it? I think it was. Yeah, that guy ruled.
So, it kind of reminds me of Wintergreen.
dude, Wintergreen rules. And which who reminds you of Alfred, who also rules. They're just down for whatever, bro. Tell me stick together. You know, everybody finally gets together, which thank God. I mean, the gods are starting to give up, which it's like, okay, dude, they're just getting started. Some funny things are kind of up front. Wonder Woman is like looking at everybody in the room. She's like, oh wow, like they have such passion, and like I don't think they just want war, and like they're smart and they're this and that. And she's like, wow, humans are good too. And then she looks at Etta and she's like, oh yeah, she's got like a conviction about her and she's plump. She's just like roasting her. She's like fat. And then it's just like, well, that's not nice, Wonder Woman, just because you're beautiful.
Wonder Woman obviously doesn't say it out loud, but she's thinking like, dude, this chick's two of me.
She's like, whoa.
Oh, what a chunky monkey.
Jesus Christ. But anyway, I mean, they finally start to figure things out. It seems like Wonder Woman isn't doing much of the thinking, kind of more of the doing. She's kind of letting the humans figure shit out.
They kind of discover how the amulet is going to help them because it introduces them to where Ares is hiding and how to go about stopping Ares.
And it pretty much is like a talisman that overlays like nuke sites and attack facilities today compared to like the bloody Greek battles back in the day. So she's like, okay, now we at least have coordinates. We know where to go. And then she also learns English in the matter of like an issue. And they're like, just to explain it, they're like, how did you speak English? You were just speaking Greek like a half hour ago. And she's like, if one listens, they understand or they learn or whatever the fuck. It's like, nuh-uh, I can't do that with Chinese or like anything else, bro. I can listen all I want. I ain't gonna make sense of it, but...
The only other person that could do that is probably Drake.
Oh, yeah. He's got enough accents to fill the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he's nuts. Who's he think he is?
Right. Yeah, but Paradise Island's looking pretty gloomy. The gods are pretty down because they don't think Wonder Woman can do it, even though they sent her to do it. And apparently taking this amulet and putting it right to a mirror will give you like a reverse image that allows you the portal to hell.
That didn't make any sense to me.
No, it didn't. But that's what they discover and come up with at the winter home. And she takes the librarian, Steve Trevor, and everybody else with her to the portal of hell to go fight Ares' kids. That's kind of wild. And then that starts chapter 6 of the 7-issue series.
Dog, speaking of Boolin, what about in issue 6 where they somehow pinned down on Ares that he also causes racism?
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, there's one little panel where it's like, oh, he's making all the Russians mad. He's making the whole world fight. And then like sandwiched in between those, it's like, he makes people hate others for the color of their skin. I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, racism serious. I don't think that's Ares, bro. But I was like, damn. Cancel Ares.
Yeah, he's canceled.
Fuck him, dude. But I just thought that was interesting that in a comic book they just pinned that on him. But I mean, cool, makes sense, makes you hate him more, I guess, you know? But dude, Ares just whoops on Wonder Woman until once again she realizes she has a lasso. Who would have thunk? It beat the last guy, but the guy who's stronger isn't. Oh no, I wouldn't use it on him. But anywho, pretty much they put him in his feelings, dude. Like he gets like a sight of like what's to come if he succeeds, and you hear Marvin's Room playing in the background, and he's crying, dude. He's like, she just made him bitch made. He's just standing there crying in front of her, thinking about if he wins. What? That's how you beat him?
Well, Ares is kicking Wonder Woman's ass, and when she finally ropes him, it's not that it affects him too much because he could still continue whooping on her, but the thing is he realizes the truth because the lasso is the lasso of truth, and that's why he starts crying. He realizes that the only reason all this stuff is going on is because he interfered. He'd kind of rather the humans do this on their own volition, like on their own accord, versus like him having an influence in destroying the world. He's more about the balance of things and not intervening as a way to destroy the earth versus him doing it because it's almost too obvious that he could do it on his own.
And he kind of realizes, too, that if he gets what he wants, like using the nukes and all that and having everyone go to war, there won't be enough people left to worship in. Everyone's going to be dead. How is he going to get any energy? Like, the gods have been saying the whole time, the only way they get power is, like, when they're revered. Their reverence has gone down because modern times, you don't think of the Greek gods and their influence, obviously. We don't give a fuck. But you know what I'm saying? So he's like, well, if I do succeed, he's like, what's the point then? Then I'm just going to be kind of alone on, like, a charred earth. And, like, the gods will all be dead. He's like, I'm literally just sitting by myself. Which, dude, I get you. That'd be making me a little sad too, but
I do like that he cried. Real dudes cry.
Yeah, he starts crying. Without the worship, he wants balance, and he pretty much just says, you win this time, but you'll be seeing me again, which is cool because he's too badass to just write off like that.
Yeah, he doesn't get defeated, he defeats himself.
He says, fuck it, next time. Best of 3.
Yeah, so that leads us to the very last chapter we'll be talking about today. The gods are pretty happy that they don't have to live in fear anymore, so they're acting a little less gloomy. On Paradise Island, Wonder Woman is brought back to them, but she's damn near dead from getting her ass kicked, and so they put her in the water to heal her. Poseidon basically suffocates her under the water.
Water's good for you.
Apparently.
Drink it.
And she drinks plenty of it and is healed and just shoots out of the water all healthy and shit.
That's how it works.
It must be Fiji.
Yeah, Voss.
So everybody's healthy, everybody's safe, and now that all's good, she asks her mother if she can go back to Earth because she feels like her job is not done there. Obviously, her mom doesn't want to give up her only child again, but an owl comes out of fucking nowhere. I think it's the owl from Harry Potter, and flies through and drops off some sandals that are made by Hermes. They're winged, so she can travel leisurely between Paradise Island and Earth.
Yeah, and she decides to go back to Boston, saves Vanessa, she breaks in the hospital, she gives her some like potions and roots and shit while she breaks into the hospital, and it heals her, and everyone's like, woohoo, everything's great.
What's so funny is I completely forgot about the librarian's daughter up until she comes through last minute and heals her.
Yeah, dude, she was ugly as fuck that whole time and nobody got to see it on panel. Then they saved her at the end. Like I said, subplot.
Basically, the conclusion to that series, and what it does is set up the next villain that we'll be seeing in the new Wonder Woman movie, which is Cheetah. So she's set up to stay on Earth. Steve is kind of sad because he lost his buddy during the fight against Ares, and then some random archaeologist in England hears of Wonder Woman and finds her story fascinating, and also is very interested in the lasso of truth because the object is so priceless. She feels she must have it, and so that kind of introduces the Cheetah and why she wants to go after Wonder Woman. And yeah, any last thoughts on the George Perez Wonder Woman run?
Not really. I'm just ready to dive in and give it a rating. So I've been kind of thinking on it. 7 out of 10, because I think it was very good. I think the art's great. I think that it's a good story overall. I don't think it's going to be the most exciting story overall. It's almost like, an acquired taste in a way. If you're kind of newer to comics, I wouldn't recommend necessarily reading it right off the jump. I would recommend it if you're going to go see Wonder Woman 84 in theaters, or on HBOmax, which you don't have to purchase it separately. It's included with the subscription. So I'm thinking I'm going to get that and just watch it, quarantine like 6 feet apart, and watch it at my house. So that'll be cool. What's $9-10 for the streaming service? Plus it looks like they have some other good things. But back to the story, like I said, 7. The art's great. I would look at the art for sure if you like George Perez, the Teen Titans stuff, anything like that. I think the designs of the characters are cool. I like pretty much, his pencils, like the way he draws them. It's also just kind of like a sign of the times, and I appreciate that art a little bit more than like the 2000s house style we see today. It's a little bit too stylized. This feels a little bit more kind of like everyday. I like that. Plot itself is good. If you have an interest in Greek mythology, I'd also recommend it because it's very heavily tied in with that. So I think it's a cool read there. But otherwise, it's just kind of like in a way, an extended origin story of Wonder Woman, just to kind of keep her fresh for the times in the 80s, try and reinvigorate her and give her more pop with readers. I definitely think that it led to a lot of good things in the character development of Wonder Woman, not just in volume 1, but all the way through the entire run that George Perez did.
Like I said, there's not a lot of good Wonder Woman runs in comic books, unfortunately. So if you do really like this character, I think this would be a great place to start. Not in your introduction to comic books, but if you were interested in Wonder Woman in general. I like that they focus on her origin story and clean that up. They do a good job with all things considering the gods, the mythos, and everything else that it entails. So if you take your time with the story, it makes her origin story make a lot of sense, almost a little too complex, and so that's why there's not a lot of good runs with Wonder Woman. I do like Ares. He was a very good villain in this story, but it's a solid cast of characters, including Steve Trevor. So the more you read, the more you'll get into it. Perez does a good job with the relationship between Wonder Woman and Steve. So my question for you is, how would you compare this to other stuff that Perez has done?
Compared to the other stuff? Honestly, it's hard to say because I like so much of his work, but I think I do like more of his other works better in comparison. I think he shouldered more of the load on this work, but
yeah, because he writes and does the art for this mostly.
Yeah, all the plots and everything mostly. Yeah, co-scripting, doing whatever. It doesn't stack up to like the New Teen Titans for me, Well, he was pretty much just drawing in Crisis, but I think I like the art better in this almost. Because I like how Ares and, like, you know, how his, the, like, demon attacking Steve and all that, like, how all of them were drawn, and the designs, the colors, everything were top-notch. But I don't know, it's kind of one of his mid-tier works, I guess. I think that he's got bigger and better stories that he's contributed more on. For him kind of taking Wonder Woman under his wing for, like, an extended period of time, I think it's a really good job.
It's a hard project to tackle. That being said, I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. Definitely a great Wonder Woman story, but not the best Perez thing I've ever read. So that wraps up our trade review of Volume 1 of Wonder Woman by George Perez. And the last thing that we are going to talk about is Spec Corner.
Spec Corner! So yeah, we haven't done Spec Corner yet, but we are going to give you a little bit of something that we believe in. We read modern stuff. We don't collect a lot of the variants or stuff like that, or the one-offs, or we don't really give a shit. We just want a cover A of whatever the run is that we think actually reads well. But for this, I think it's going to be a little bit of both. It's something that I had a hunch on when I saw Immortal Hulk's previews in the back of one of the books. I says we should get on that. You know, just anything that's good, we tip each other off. I think that for Spec, though, DC Future State, Wonder Woman, and to a lesser extent, the one-shot that they just released for free, I think that those are both going to be books to keep an eye on. It is supposed to be the first appearance of the new Wonder Woman. She's Brazilian. Her name, as of now, as I understand it, is Yara Flor. So she's going to be the new Brazilian Wonder Woman. I've even heard already that there's going to be rumors that she's on a CW show or something like that, produced by the guy, Greg Berlanti, who did a lot of the Arrowverse stuff. So the fact that they're already kind of ramping up a push for her is good. Final order cutoff, I think, is like end of November, early December. So if you didn't ask for it then, I would definitely still try and see if you can get one added to your pull now. And if not, I mean, good luck finding one. Unless the print run's just huge, I think that this is going to be like a no-brainer. And I don't even grab a cover B. I think I'm going to grab cover B this time. Same for this. And bonus spec, Red X. I think if you saw the Teen Titans show from back in the day, you would understand why Red X is so badass. We both endorse buying cover A and B of each of these if you can. I mean, if not, it's a few bucks. Hopefully the story is good. But I think for such cool characters with such potential, why would you not buy it for a few bucks?
From my experience, first appearance of characters have always drawn the most value as far as comic books appreciating. When Berger and I were a few years back collecting comic books, there was introduced the first appearance of Spider-Gwen, and now that book is through the roof. It's hard to touch a copy for $300 or less, even though it's a modern book, because of the Edge of Spider-Verse and all that stuff. Spider-Gwen has actually kind of made its way into modern comics, and although that's on the Marvel side of things, I think that this new version of Wonder Woman kind of is going to have that same impact. The creator of Wonder Woman, this new character of Wonder Woman, has mentioned that this is not going to be done after a future state, so I think that DC is going to heavily rely on this character moving forward. Definitely, we both endorse it. If you're into collecting comics, or if you want a good place to start in modern comics, come January, DC is having a new event called Future State, and the first issue of Future State Wonder Woman is going to introduce a first appearance of a brand new character that they're hyping up over at DC Comics. So I'm going to get every cover I can. I think Berger is too. It's a good spec purchase. Even just as a good read, I think the art is pretty solid too. So that's my final thoughts on the character and purchasing that book. Do you have any final thoughts?
My final thoughts are that you need to check us out everywhere. Tell your friends if you like us. I mean, if you don't, still probably tell them, but just leave out the part where you don't like us. So just go ahead and give us a review if you could. I understand not everybody wants to. I sure as hell don't, but we would really appreciate it, and any podcast that you do like would. But yeah, check us out on social media. Instagram primarily at CBJ Pod. Come give us a comment, ask us a dumb question. Maybe we'll include it on the show. Go ahead, we encourage it. But anyways, you can catch us anywhere else. We are on YouTube. We have a limited presence as we're mostly audio, but you can check us out there. Same thing, CBJ Pod, CBJ Podcast. You can find us, Comic Book Junkies. And then yeah, same on Facebook, CBJ Podcast. And otherwise, like I said, leave us a review.
Next week, we'll be reviewing the first volume of Preacher. This is our first non-DC comic, non-Marvel comics.
But so it is kind of DC. DC. It's Vertigo.
Vertigo's a branch of DC Comics, so it's like their independent version of DC Comics, so they're non-superhero stuff.
I'm just
kind
busting
of
your
DC,
balls.
but it's not exactly.
It's
and
DC,
that's our first non-official DC comic we'll be reviewing.
Hell yeah, it's gonna rule, because one, Preacher's hilarious. I already love it. I watched the TV show, which I'll also talk to you about. And then, we gotta get into just everything that Garth Ennis does is like right up my alley. His sense of humor usually teams up with Steve Dillon or somebody else who's a great artist. So I'm very excited. And I think Volume 1 is a little bit of a whopper, but I think that it's gonna be damn worth it.
Alrighty, guys. So if you like crass content and the TV show, definitely check us out.
Oh, it's coming. We'll see you guys.